Yo, what's up, guys? The Insane Game Freak here. So with all the NX talk and more rumors and more speculation and more softcore confirmations for certain games and ports and all this other bullshit, I figured I would make a video talking about things that I would like to carry over from the Wii U from the Wii U to the NX. Let's be fucking honest here. I feel like the majority, ever since like E3 last year, it's just been this, oh, well, the Wii U has this problem, and this problem, and this problem, and this problem, and it creates a very bad stigma that there was nothing right with the console to begin with, which is a bunch of bullshit. The console, obviously, because everybody and their fucking grandma wants to tell you it has problems, I'm not denying that. But there are things about the Wii U that I feel like were good strides forward and should be continued into whatever console we get next, whether that is the NX or something else. So I'm going to talk about some things that I would like to see carry over from the Wii U generation to the NX generation. So let's do this. Okay, so first thing is Miiverse. I don't think this is even an argument. Miiverse is literally probably one of the better gaming communities in terms of the three consoles. Xbox Live is kind of well known for being a pretty toxic place. And that's not really Microsoft's fault. That's just the fact that when you give people more free reign to do whatever the fuck they want, and you also have a gaming fan base and a gaming, because to be honest, Microsoft doesn't have like that fan base where you could get a good balance of like genuine fans and then like jackasses. Like Nintendo seems to have the better balance in terms of having genuine friends and jackasses. The difference is that we trade out a lot of the jackasses for kids who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That's why we don't know if Samus can crawl or not. But I still think Miiverse is a great functionality, and Miiverse doesn't hurt anything. I think that's actually the main point of it all. Miiverse doesn't hurt. It can only help because it helps build communities and fans, and even I'm pretty sure people have created friendships over Miiverse, just like people have done over Xbox Live and Steam and fucking PlayStation and PlayStation Network and shit. So Miiverse, one of the first things to carry over. I think that's kind of a given, but still, I won't really bring up the Nintendo Network ID because it's obvious that's carrying over. They're obviously putting steps in place now to make sure that shit carries over. Same thing with the eShop. I don't think the eShop is going to be like a nerf eShop like it was going from Wii to Wii U, considering those were like two different networks. It's kind of obvious the Wii U has been kind of built to set up their online community, and everything from this point forward should just be an extension of what the Wii U started. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. Let's talk about something that some people may not bring up. Their esports and their community relations. I want that to be continued over to the NX. And some of you might be asking, what are you talking about? The last thing we heard about Nintendo's community relations is the bullshit, was the bullshit ass YouTube policy, which if you've noticed, by the way, hasn't been talked about at all. Like, if you notice, like, they mentioned it, and then, like, nothing came of it. I think they're still claiming videos, but I mean, in terms of them pushing that program, that completely stopped. And that's partially because it was heavily flawed and they didn't see the worth in trying to fix it or make it better, because at the end of the day, it really wouldn't have been terrible, but it probably wouldn't have helped. And I think they just said, fuck it. But if you've noticed, they've been a lot more supportive of the esports community, specifically with the things like sponsoring events, sponsoring the Smash community, whether it's Melee or Smash 4, and then the Pokken tournament stuff, and that kind of gets into the overall thing. It's just the better community on top of promoting more tournament play. You know, giving the hardcore fans the kind of love that they need. And the Smash community specifically is like, bruh, we've been treated like shit for a while. I mean, for God's sakes, one of the games in the franchise that we played to death, it was literally a fuck you to our community, which, I'm talking about Brawl in that sense. So I'm glad to see that throughout the Wii U's life cycle, they've been trying to support and kind of fucking promote that community more, you know, with all these little events they've been doing, you know, asking all these well-known tournament players to come and do these events with them, trying to, you know, kind of fix the mistakes that the Wii generation kind of fucked up on, and honestly just, and then them not giving a fuck in the GameCube generation. So as I said, things like Pokken Tournament, things like the Splatoon stuff, things like, Smash, obviously. I want to see that continue, and it looks like it will. And then on top of that, just also talking about that, oh my god, thank you Nintendo for finally giving other YouTubers, besides the ones that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, review copies for games. Like, yeah, there's a lot of, you know, like our own player Essence, and I think Obi-Wan and shit. And some of you, I know some of you may have your varying opinions. I'm sorry about the lighting. The fucking windows open and the trees are flowing in the wind because it's cold today for no motherfucking reason, even though it was hot as fuck yesterday. I know people may have their varying opinions on some of those YouTubers. Well, I always think about it this way. Would I rather have, you know, channels like Game and Wario, PK Sparks, you know, fucking Obi-Wan, Player Essence, would I rather have them do it, or people like I Justine and Lamar Wilson? I think it's kind of obvious I would prefer the more homey YouTubers who actually play games consistently and are gamers, other than motherfuckers who are pretty much just unboxers and kind of corporate shells. I mean, I Justine's channel is literally built on the fact that she's an Apple fangirl, which already means that I'm not have any fucks to deal with her at that point. Lamar Wilson is what I would view as a failed tech channel that turned into an unboxing channel. If you know anything about Lamar Wilson, you know that's essentially what his channel is. His channel, he used to try to do like variation videos and he couldn't find a niche. And then he figured out all he had to do was unbox shit, and that's what happened. And you know, people like the completionists or game theorists, like, let those people represent, you know, let those be the ones pushing Nintendo games instead of those. Cause fuck that. So that's what I mean as a whole. And then even stuff like the Treehouse and shit. You know, the fact that you have more of your spokespersons out there pushing your games, like the little Splatoon thing they did, the Pokken Tournament thing they did. You know, more of that community interaction I appreciate. And I don't want that to go away. I want that to continue on to the next console. So, that's another thing that I hope continues on to future Nintendo consoles. And just Nintendo in general. The next thing would probably be the localization. If you've noticed, particularly with this generation, they've been a lot more lenient in terms of localizing games. Now, I didn't say fast, I said lenient, because, let's be honest, they're not fucking fast with it. They're just not. They're at least putting the games out, you know, things like Fatal Frame, you know, the new Rhythm Heaven game that's been out in a while for Japan, you know. We're starting to get more games that used to be were like Japan exclusive. And granted, the Wii era kind of started this, but the Wii era was heavily pushed by fans. You know, the fact that we're starting to get Fire Emblem games consistently now. Let's be honest, we haven't. So, you know, we get Awakening and Fates, you know, back to back. We still can't get some of the smaller things like fucking art books and shit. But fuck it! We're getting there. We're getting there. It's a slow grind, but we're getting there. God damn it! So that's another thing I like to see continue is more localization, and more just pushing Japanese games that they don't. Because to me, it's like you and Sony are the only two companies that get those games, and Sony really doesn't do much for those games other than just straight out translate them. If that, it's like a straight translation. And if anyone's played some of the Japanese games that came to America, you know it's a bare bones translation. All you gotta do is play some of the One Piece games and be like, bruh, they literally did nothing but fucking transcribe this shit, and it's so boring and flavor text, it's stupid. So, you know, if we can get more Fatal Frames, which I'm still surprised they even bothered dubbing. That's what I would like to see more of. That, and granted, this would be also fixed with regional locking, but I still want a fucking English release of the game. Regardless if you get rid of regional lock or not, I would still like an English release of the game. Because yes, please, thank you. Indie support. Now I think this one's kind of a no-brainer, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. The indie support and the indie push for Wii U has been great. I don't think anyone can really argue that they haven't been trying with indies. They've been putting in a lot of effort and really trying to push them just as much as they push the third-party stuff. You know, I mean first-party stuff, because we know the Wii doesn't have third-party. Unless you count indies, I guess indies would be a makeshift third party. But my point is, the push for indies is something that I really appreciate. A lot of us were curious to see if they were going to do that because that's kind of one of those low key victories that no one ever fucking talks about. You know, getting things like fucking Minecraft and Oddworld and more Shantae and Shovel Knight and shit like that. Getting more of those games and getting those games quicker than Wii U's had indie exclusives, and we're not talking about like bullshit exclusives. I mean, as I said, Shovel Knight probably considered one of the better games, if not one of the best games this generation, was on the Nintendo console first. Just saying, that's what I'm talking about. Like, keep that going. Don't listen. If your new console's more, pandering and kind of fits everybody a little bit better than the Wii U did, I don't want you to lose things that the Wii U did, because that's kind of what happened with the Wii to the Wii U. There were certain things that the Wii did better than the Wii U, and there was no real reason for it other than whoops. And we don't want to go through that mistake again. And I don't want people to sit here and act like the Wii U doesn't have any good merits to it. We have good fucking games on the console, and there were good things about the console. So I appreciate that. I would appreciate, keeping up the Ninja support, which I don't see them dropping anytime soon. I'm just saying, those are things I want to carry over, something like the Ninja shit. So I guess next up would also be... Now this one's kind of a hard situation to sell because I don't know how people are going to respond to it, but I like the fact that we have multiple controllers. I feel like Nintendo is the only console manufacturer that gets shitted on for having multiple controller options. Don't really get why, because it was never, I never viewed it as a hindrance. I mean, it never hurt the game. To me, giving me a different way to play the game was interesting. Now, I'm partially saying this because I kind of want the features of the gamepad to continue, but considering people view that as the reason for the console failing so goddamn hard, I feel like that wouldn't come back. And the gamepad doesn't have to be the main console controller, but as long as it's an option, it won't bother me, especially with all these rumors about certain ports coming out over there, coming from the Wii U to the NX. If we're going to have a game like, I don't know, maybe like Splatoon or fucking Mario Maker, I would prefer, I don't see how you can play those games without a fucking gamepad. Well, I guess Splatoon you could kind of do it, but it's not really preferred, and you lose features in doing it. Mario Maker, I legitimately can't see without it being a nerf version. It's kind of the same thing with Pikmin 3. Pikmin 3 is a game that started on the GameCube, and when we got the Wii, we did not want to use any other fucking controller than the Wiimote. I think it's almost blatantly obvious. I think it's almost fact now. Pikmin plays best with a Wiimote. And they don't have to call it a Wiimote, but for the love of God, that's what I'm feeling going forward. I don't want some of these control options are so good that it just pisses me off to just throw them out. Because that just means that every game that you took advantage of them to the best effect is screwed because of it. And the Splatoon can kind of survive under the basis of, certain gameplay elements, because the only thing you really lose is the ability to switch jump to your teammates. You could probably map a button to the home or, do it in a menu or some shit, which is a little bit more cumbersome. Splatoon can kind of get away with it. Mario Maker is a little bit of the same thing, even though I feel like half of the appeal of Mario Maker is because it's on a gamepad and it's like the game that justifies the Wii U in itself. But something like Pikmin 3, it's like, dude, you could play that with a controller, but it's such a fucking nerfed and like, it's such a neuter experience. It's fucking ridiculous. So I would like the controller variety to come back, especially if some of these ports with Smash Brothers NX, you can't really appeal to the tournament scene and not give me the ability and not give those players the ability to play with the GameCube controller. It's the same shit. Like, and I love how some people like the controller depending on the game. So yeah, that's just a thought process I have. Nintendo probably has the only controller lines that people would still want to see for certain games. It's interesting, I guess. Or at least give me the option to buy it. Like I said, give me options to buy gamepads and Wii remotes and GameCube controllers. And even if they aren't the main console controller, give me the ability to use them. That's all I'm asking for. Well, I guess this isn't really exclusive to the Wii U, but this is exclusive more so in terms of their thought process in releasing games of recently. I like the fact that they're relying on other characters now. The biggest problem, especially in the later half of the Wii generation, and beginning the Wii U generation, they had this over fucking reliance on all the safe bets. I mean, Zelda was being used to death, Mario was being used to death, Pokemon was being used to death, and it was like, dude, you have other motherfucking franchises, and also stop picking games in the same genre. That was like one of my first major complaints with the Wii U when it came out. That like in the first year or so, all the games you had were fucking platformers, and I'm like, dude, that's your bread and butter. But people get burnt out real quick, which is why half of the excitement for certain games are completely shot. You know, I'm not gonna get excited for another fucking new Super Mario Brothers game when you just gave me Mario Maker. Mario Maker literally is the new Super Mario Brothers. I feel like the 2D Mario can take a break for a while, like a good fucking while, and no one would give a shit. Because I'm pretty sure, that's what I'm talking about. Like, there was not enough gameplay variety, and you were using the same like 3 or 4 franchises. If you've noticed throughout the Wii U, they've become a lot more open with it. You know, Pikmin 3 being one of the examples, having new IPs in the form of Splatoon. They try other IPs that people don't like to fucking give any mention to, like Wonderful 101 and fucking and Codename Steam. Now those didn't work out, but those were still efforts into making new IPs. It wasn't like they ever stopped. It's just that some of them didn't work and some of them did. You know. And even using games like Kid Icarus Uprising or Luigi's Mansion or some shit, you know, fucking in the over reliance on Fire Emblem recently, it's the same thing. Like pushing other franchises you got and not just hanging with the same 3 or 4. Because let's be honest, near the end of the Wii's generation and probably the beginning of the Wii U, it was mainly like Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon. That was it. That was really it. Like, I can't think of really any other franchise that were really pushing. And yeah, people throw out, well, Metroid Other M came out in 2010. Most of you people don't even like that game. And I've noticed throughout this year and probably a little bit of last year, they've been trying to very diversify their game franchises and pushing other shit. Now, we haven't had all winners, and even Animal Crossing and new IPs in the form of Tomodachi Life. I want that to continue. Don't get back into a safe zone where you feel like you can only hang. Don't over-rely on one, because I feel like that's kind of where you're getting with Fire Emblem. I feel like, dude, if you do not give Fire Emblem a break, you are going to run into the same problem you had with some of your other franchises where you just kept fucking pushing it and pushing it. That's what I'm saying. After Fates, it's like, after this crossover comes out in the summer, it's like Fire Emblem needs to take a fucking break. Because you're going to oversaturate us with it, and we're not going to care as much, nowhere near as much anymore. You know, that's what I'm saying. Keep switching them out. You know, Star Fox. Fucking cool. You know, if you want to keep, another Fiddle Friend game, fucking cool. Just don't like hang with like 1 or 2 franchises. I think Monster Hunter kind of is going through the same thing. Now, granted, that's not Nintendo, it's Capcom, but still, it's the same thing. If you oversaturate us with the same game too many times, or the same IP too many times, you will get burnout and fatigue. And the Wii U's problem was more so it was the same gameplay style. You know, in the first year, you had Mario 3D World, you had Rayman Legends, you had Sonic Lost World, you had, I'm missing something, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, you had all these fucking platformers come out, and I'm like, dude, we haven't even gotten a fighter yet, or a fucking brawler, or something, which is why games like Bayonetta 2 got people hyped, or Pokken Tournament, because it's like, oh shit, a different genre on the goddamn console. That's kind of, as much as I know Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem will be a niche title, people will still be happy about it because, hey, look, it's a fucking RPG other than Xenoblade. That was one of the reasons why people got hyped for Xenoblade. Because it's a different type of game that Nintendo usually doesn't make. That's all I'm saying. Moving forward, keep up that variety that you've kind of started introducing with in 2015, actually late 2014, 2015, and it looks like even in 2016. Just keep that up, and we'll be good. But those are just a few things I would like to see continue throughout, the NX or whatever future console's lifespan, and we don't fall into the same trap and just fucking forget things like you did with the Wii generation, where you forgot some of the advancements the Wii generation did, and the Wii U ended up looking weird as fuck in comparison. And those are just things that I would like to see carry over. There's other things that you guys can think of to carry over. Please let me know in the comment section below. Sorry this was a long video. I had things to talk about. I had things to say. I had conversations to make. And making money all day. Swag! Don't stop. Life's a game. Play to win. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.